Good evening, everybody out there. Mizzou fans, welcome to State of the Tigers, our weekly Monday night show brought to you by James Carlton, State Farm, carltoninsurance.net. There you see the logo on the screen. The information will be running across the bottom of your screen throughout. I actually had a chance to talk to James Carlton today, did a little radio show with him, and he is, like you guys, a little bit concerned about the state of the Tigers at this point in time. Had some questions about how things are going. I think that's pretty normal. But if you've got any questions for James, you can get in touch with him at 314-961-4800. You can go to carltoninsurance.net. He's got a great staff, super friendly, super helpful people. They are going to answer any insurance questions you have. They might chat with you a little bit about Mizzou football. And if you get an insurance quote from them, they're going to donate $20 to Every True Tiger Foundation to help toward Mizzou's NIL efforts. And with that, we're going to bring in Jarod Hamilton. We do this every Monday night. Jarod, we could just sum this up. State of the Tigers doesn't seem great right now. Not a lot of happiness.
No. I mean, it was happiness for me. It was. I was writing my four down territory column, a couple hours ago, and I was just thinking about those last three possessions, and then I also went to the beginning and those first four possessions, three punts and a field goal, and I was just thinking like, well, one, field goals aren't even guaranteed no more. That's the first thing. And obviously starting off with all those punts not good, and then those three possessions. I mean, I just remember us in the press box thinking there is no way they're melting down like this. Really, like it was crazy.
Yeah, it was. There was a moment there where we thought, "Oh man, this could be bad." But want to invite you guys, Cody, and everybody else that's here watching with us live. Put your comments, your questions. We'll pop them up throughout the show and talk about them. Here's where I want to start, though. The approval rating. Like, this is as low as it's been in 4 years. Now I want to be clear. Like, he can fix this. I mean, he goes and beats Kansas State, then this all goes away. But this feels to me different than any other loss or any other week we've had so far in Drinkwitz's tenure here. And obviously, I've been here all 4 years. I know you've just been here the year and a half, but every other loss or every other rough time, I felt like there was still a pretty decent amount of support and pushback and like, hey, you guys are being kind of dumb. I haven't gotten a lot of pushback this week. Like, this is the first time to me that it feels like the foundation of support has really kind of started to erode a little bit.
This game last week, it just kind of, I feel like it opened people's eyes, a lot of, and as fans of no matter what sport, when you have blind faith sometimes. So, I'm a fan of this team. Here's what I see, but this is what in my heart of hearts, we can do this, we can do that, but it doesn't happen. And so I think it opened their eyes to it opened the fans' eyes kind of like, this is actually what it is. And you said it, I think it was in your 10 thoughts today. Drink has an idea going into the season, what he wants the team to be, and then he coaches the team he has. And that's what's happening. People are seeing what he has in the blind faith of, you wrote this after the game, of the young, smart, witty coach with all these bold ideas. People are starting to see, like, we haven't seen that in a while. And what he's been showing the last, at least for what I can speak of, the last couple of years, that's closer to who he is than, when he started, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. It is interesting to me, though, that this big flip, like, it's after a win, man. I mean, they are 2-0, and look, they did not play well. No question. It was a lot closer than it needed to be. But I just find it interesting that, like, it happened this week and not like after 66-24 to Tennessee, or not after something like that. It's interesting timing. I get year 4 is different than year 3, but I mean, we agree they can fix this in 60 minutes, right?
Yeah, they can fix some of it.
I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win, but if they win, this whole
Well, as far as the fan base feeling better, yeah, the fan base get hyped back up. I'm just talking about overall, like just because they win this swing game doesn't mean they win, Arkansas game or some other SEC game that we don't expect them to win. But you feel better going into those games that they can't.
Because beating K-State, like I don't think you can beat K-State with a C- game. I don't think that's reasonable.
Not even.
I think it probably takes at least a B+ game to beat K-State. And it might take better than that, but a B+ game on the right day gives you a shot, So that would be the first indication that they can actually play a B+ or an A- game because that's the thing. I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny.
Right.
The reason it would be so big this week is not just, hey, you're 3-0 and you beat Kansas State, but we were talking about that blind faith. Like we don't have evidence that this team can play well enough to beat Kansas State. So it would be nice to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's what I've been seeing the 15 games I've covered. No matter if they're favored or not, there's probably I did something earlier. I forgot maybe it was for the column, but there were 2-4 in one score games last year. And so for one, that tells me obviously they're never going to be comfortable. There's never going to be a time where they're going to be comfortable versus a real opponent. I'm not talking about Louisiana Tech and New Mexico. I don't know which New Mexico they play. Like I don't remember playing.
State.
They're not going to be, comfortable playing real teams, and that's a problem. That's like there's so many issues with that alone, and so I don't know. I don't feel like how to put this. I feel like it's going to be the biggest game of his career, possibly this week.
So far,
it's going to be a tough slate. Tough slate.
So let me ask you this. This kind of just occurred to me. I was doing another show earlier today, and it kind of popped into my head. Do you think that like closing out a game, is that a skill? Like, is that a skill a team can develop? I mean, it's not a skill the team has, clearly, right?
You can develop it, but I think it's something about having the players to do it. And we think this team has some solid pieces, but it's something about having players who can do it. And, like, let's think about it. How many players on this team do you feel like – I mean, obviously a lot of them have just been playing at Missouri, but how many do you feel like can close in certain spots?
Here's the thing about it to me is if you do it once, it gets easier to do it the next time. And then if you do it 2 or 3 times, you just start to believe you're going to do it. The issue I feel like right now, or one of the issues I feel like that could be going on with this team is that they have had some go against them, and now they start to doubt whether they can close because like they – obviously the Kentucky game last year, the Auburn game last year, there were a couple times that even, I mean, the Vanderbilt and the Arkansas game, they won, but I wouldn't say they closed. The clock just kind of ran out. So, and that's almost what happened on Saturday night. My point in this is they were up 23-10. And then when they punted with about 10 and a half minutes left, and by the way, the reason they punted is they couldn't pick up 3rd and 1. But everything from there on out looked like a team that didn't really believe in its ability to close a game, right? And it's something I think you just got to do it. And then once you do it, you kind of start to feel better. And if you do it a couple times, then it becomes easier to do, but they haven't done it yet.
The problem is I don't know if Drink thinks they can do it because his play calling doesn't suggest it. Like I asked Brady Cook about, I didn't see Brady specifically, but I remember vividly seeing one of the offensive linemen on, and it was probably the punt you're talking about when they were on 4th down and the offense kind of took a minute to get off the field because players were like, no, I want to stay out. Let's give us one more chance. And then Drake pulled them. Things like that, like players cannot get that confidence. And if they don't ever like attempt to do things, if they don't ever have any bit of risk to them to know like, all right, coach believes, because it starts with him and Brady, and his answer kind of was just like, yeah, we wanted to, but coach says get off the field. Well, what can we do? And so you can't build that confidence and stack those types of games up if you don't get the opportunity.
To be fair, I think that's a pretty standard answer. I mean, I've never heard a quarterback say, "Yeah, I wanted to punt."
Yeah, but I do think though, when you're again did it get us versus South Dakota, Middle Tennessee State, I mean, and you're up 13, what was it? Yeah, up 13 in the fourth quarter. It's not like they have the cushion behind them just in case they don't get it, whatever. The defense is playing well, you're still up 13 points. I can get legitimately the offense saying, well, you got to give us a shot. And they don't get it.
Yeah, that's fair. So, want to run through some of the questions, and Cody is asking, when is the last time Missouri won an early season swing game? So, I'm just going to kind of go back through. I'm going back through recent schedules, and I will do it as quickly as I can. They certainly did not do one last year. They started 2-4. They didn't do it the year before. They lost at Boston College to go 2-2. I mean, this is the first time Missouri's been 2-0 since, what was it, Jarod? 2018, did we decide?
18?
Yeah.
I think so. It's definitely the first time in Drinkwood's era, in the Drink era.
Yeah, so it's obviously been at least since 2018 that they won an early season swing game. Let's see. Here was their non-conference schedule that year. Tennessee, Martin, blah. Wyoming, blah, at home. I mean, they won at Purdue 40-37 in September of 2018 to go 3-0. So I guess you can argue that was a swing game. It wasn't this huge game, but it was a big win for them. They then followed that up by losing to Georgia, losing at South Carolina, and losing at Alabama. So I think more than winning any individual game, here's why Saturday's big. Missouri's got to get out of the month of September where their fans have hope, man. Like, they haven't done that in a long time. Even 2018, when they started 2-0, then they immediately lose. They're 3-0 and they lose 3 straight games. Like, I would assume that the last undefeated September Missouri had is 2013. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess. And man, you just got to at least get to October 1 and feel like you're playing for something.
Yeah, everybody's been saying, and I get why, but everybody's been like, what if Missouri went into the LSU game 5-0? And it's just like, it's just so hard to see that. And you're right. It doesn't make it easier, I guess, for the have hope when you know the basketball team is doing well. Like if this doesn't work out for football, you've been saying this for a while. They're just gonna go to the basketball.
There'll be a lot of people.
Yeah. And so you're right. They've got to get out of September. And what was the last game in September? That's the Vandy game. Gotta be 3-1, but it'd mean a hell of a lot if they can get this one. And it feels like the most likely chance to do it. I mean, if Kansas State is just your biggest game right now, it's like that's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, if let's be honest, if they win this weekend, they should be 5-0.
Right.
The last time I looked it up, the last time Missouri was 5-0 was 2013. They won their first 7, lost to South Carolina in overtime on the missed field goal, and then won their next 4 to finish 11-1. So it has been 9 years since Missouri got to October 1st without a loss. And I'll be honest, man, that's not like a super rare thing to do. That means you go 4 or 5-0. There's teams every year who go 4 or 5-0 and aren't even great teams. So I think I think the biggest thing is, winning that swing game, but more than that, just building some momentum early in the season, like not pulling the rug out from people in the first 5 weeks of the season would be absolutely gigantic for Missouri fans. Too Simplistic wants to know, interesting tweets by some players with trust the process. I haven't seen that. I don't know if that's a thing. But is there a glimmer of hope that Mizzou hasn't really showed their offense as a whole and that they've truly played vanilla? I don't think that Chris Kleiman is going to be shocked by like a ton of new stuff, but Eli Drinkwitz and Kirby Moore have to have a couple tricks saved for this, right?
For sure. For
Couple
sure. Yeah.
twists, something off of something they've done, or
Yeah. I assume first off, they better because they've been
right.
basically saying, well, they haven't said it, but their play says, well, we have them. We'll just, we're not going to waste it on MTSU. And so, which, okay, makes sense, but they have to show it. And like Drink said, after week 1, basically, they're not going to reveal their playbook this early. Why? For who, for what, really, type of thing. But, I don't know. All I know is they better do something. They have to do something because, again, biggest game of his career.
Right. And the trick doesn't have to be a fake punt or a flea flicker. Like, it can be as simple as, hey, we've run play X out of this formation 6 times in the first 2 games. So we're going to go in that formation, but we're going to do something different out of it. And so, like, you and me sitting in the press box may not notice that as a trick, but it may be something that, K-State sees this formation, this personnel says, okay, this is what we think is coming. Then you do something different and it throws. I mean, coaches talk about that all the time, right? We called a play in week 3 to set up a play in week 8.
Yeah, no, the players have actually said that. I know Weiss, and I want to say maybe Mookie, but I know definitely Theo Weiss definitely was saying like they were talking to the defenses, the defensive players during some practices, and the defense basically thinks they know everything that comes, and then they'll show something else out of the same formation. So they definitely do stuff like that. But also, to go on with your point, is it doesn't have to be a trick play or something, but it can be as simple as, let's say it's 3rd, 6, 3rd, and 7. And they may run a play to actually set up a 4th and short and go for it. Something gutsy, and it doesn't have to be something elaborate, but just showing like, all right, maybe we usually punt it here, but maybe there is a fake punt, or maybe we just say, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to show you early on that we're not afraid.
I wouldn't hate seeing Luther and Wildcat again. We saw that the first game last year, and then I think we never saw it again. If you got something off that's potentially interesting. Justin Ferguson says time to go fast again. And I'll be honest, man, it doesn't seem like they've used much tempo in the first couple games, have they? It's been pretty basic speed.
Yeah. I just thought about this since you said something about Luther. You've got a kid who's probably 380 pounds. Seen them using Jordan Harris as the fullback on a couple power plays. Put Logan Reichert at fullback and have him run through somebody. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good idea on short yardage, to just tell him, hey, or get on the line of scrimmage, hey, get in there and just push.
Right. Do the Eagles play?
I don't know.
Logan.
Can they do that? I know they banned that in the NFL. I think. I wonder. That's why I'd say
they didn't ban it in the NFL. At one point it wasn't legal in college. The whole Bush push thing, but I'm not sure. I would try it. Just what are they going to do?
I mean, and they got Marcellus Johnson, who's first couple games, just anytime he's on the field, it seems like there's some type of penalty, whatever that may be. I know Logan's much bigger than him. I mean, that's just one guy, you can sub in and say, here, just pushing place to him.
Speaking of Marcellus Johnson, or of Marcellus Johnson. So Drink alluded to the potential of, offensive line changes. If they happen, what do you think that looks like?
It's Cameron Johnson. It's not gonna. I know they.
So he's out, and what does that mean? Mimbo to guard and somebody else at tackle, or does that mean EJ at guard? Do you think?
I'm thinking EJ at guard because I've just been told so much about Armand being at right tackle. That was their plan for the future anyway, and he obviously got moved there, a week after camp. But I will say, though, in Armand's first couple of games, they are not exactly kind of like the hype is saying. It hasn't been the worst ever, but he's had some struggles in there. But I don't think it's Marcellus, and I think it's Cameron coming out.
Yeah, I would have thought at one point maybe Mimbo to guard and Valen Erickson at tackle, but his name has
I
disappeared
haven't
from
heard
the
about
depth
him
chart.
in it. Yeah, I haven't heard about him in quite a minute, so I don't know.
Yeah. And so Michael brings up the point that, like, I think everybody's forgetting because I understand. I feel like we're still in the mourning period from a bad game. I feel like that usually lasts till about Tuesday morning. So we're not quite through it yet for fans. But, all seemed pointless last week. And then last year, the Georgia game, and then they got way up and played a game that we didn't think they were capable of. My point is, just because last week was bad, that doesn't mean next week. Like, I have seen so many people say,
Exactly.
bet the house on Kansas
Kansas
State. I would
State,
never have
yeah.
a 5-point. First of all, Vegas isn't generally stupid. Second of all, don't ever bet the house on it. Like, have you ever watched college football before, man? There's a reason we like it because just nutso stuff happens every week.
Yeah, and I forgot to because I was thinking about this one. I think I may have seen it maybe Sunday or something like that, where I seen people saying like, "Bet your mortgage" and stuff on it. And the thing about that is, I've been trying to say this for a couple weeks. Just because what you do in one week, that does not necessarily translate to the other matchup. If you're a MMA fan or a boxing fan, you've probably heard the phrase "styles make fights." So just because you can beat one opponent or you may lose to one opponent, that doesn't necessarily mean that a better opponent or a worse opponent, what the situation is, can beat you or lose. It's everything is different.
Yeah, it's every week because, again, not everybody play like you don't just automatically play an A game, right? No, I don't think we've
Right.
seen Missouri's A game, but let's say we see Missouri's A game this weekend. Well, maybe it's the same day Kansas State plays the C game because Kansas State going to play a C game at some point,
Yep.
and so that's what it's all. I mean, the question was about the Georgia game. Missouri played an A game that day, and Georgia probably did play a C game, and the result was Missouri almost beat them, and that can happen any given weekend. Look, now, am I going to pick Missouri to win this game? As of tonight, probably not. But I think they've got a much better shot than Missouri fans are giving them credit for at this point in time.
Yes, but there's some things
I
that
mean, because
are.
like Missouri fans are giving them like a 1 in 10 chance. It's
Well,
better.
no. It's not that bad. I said this last week. Things are never as bad as
Right.
they may seem. Like they're never at the same time though. They are also based on things we heard in camp and things that we're not seeing on the field. They're also not as good as they may seem. But it's a little bit more towards 50-50, although I don't know that's the chance, but it's closer to that than that's a 10% chance.
Yeah, I'd say like 35, maybe 40,
Exactly.
somewhere in that range.
Hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Tad brings up, I think, an interesting question. We're talking about the Johnsons. Can drink evaluate talent? So I don't remember who else Cameron Johnson and Marcellus Johnson had offers from, but here's what I think happens in the transfer portal a little bit. Like, I'm sure, look, Cameron Johnson was a good, solid player at Houston. I'm sure Marcellus Johnson was a good player at Eastern Michigan. But what happens is you get in the portal, and so you get into March, April, and you can't sign another high school guy. You can't go trade for a guy. So it's like all of a sudden, these guys, like they go from it. Here's the best analogy. It's like you saw the girl at the bar at 10 o'clock. It's all right. But then it's 12:50 and everybody's going home, man. And like you're
Uh-oh.
not hanging out with anybody. And 12:50 is a little different than it was. I think that happens in the transfer portal.
That's a good analogy. I think that's better than the one I had in my head. But I think as far as I can't really speak to Marcellus and connections he may have here if it was just like he talked to Missouri and they hit it off or whatever. But for Cameron, I mean, I want to say Brandon Jones, the O-line coach, she got there 2 weeks before. And so obviously the connection is made right there. And you've got the guy who molded him into an all-conference guy. Like that seems pretty easy as to why that happened. Although I remember when we found out Cameron was coming, and I told you, I said, I'm writing this up, but I see that he committed 11 penalties last year, which tells me 11 penalties in the AAC. I know you're all conference, but that also tells me there's something that's there. I know the accolade says one thing, but if this is your stats, there's probably something more to it. So I don't know, but your analogy, that's great.
And again, why did they get him? Because they didn't think they had a starting center on their team. And
Yeah,
so
they
they're
were
going,
yeah.
oh man, we need somebody. We don't have. I mean, it's the reason they added Jack Abraham last year, right? I mean, it's kind of the reason they went out and got Jake Garcia. Hey, like, what if Brady's not healthy or he doesn't get better? And what if Sam's not ready? Like, we just got to have options.
This sounds like things that you hear around the NFL draft when, it's usually the more successful GMs and teams, but they're saying like draft best player available. Like when it gets down to it, don't just settle for someone lower in your draft board because you need the position. Might as well just go add the value of, a good player, even if you think you're okay at that position. But you know what happens when that portal gets kind of low and you're scrambling? Because I think Cameron came in April. It was quite a minute for him.
Yeah, and so look, it's a fair. The talent evaluation is a fair question. It's my biggest question right now with Drinkwitz is, okay, he's signing 4 stars, but like I always used to joke. I was telling this somebody earlier today. I always used to joke that I thought Gary Pinkel every recruiting cycle would just go find me 2 kids that we think can play football that aren't in the Rivals database, and I want to sign them because I just want to make these guys go, oh my God, who is this kid, right? And then I'm going to turn him into an all Big 12 player, and he would do it. And I want to see that. I mean, Tavoris Jones, like see him on the field at some point. As some of these other, I know Kai Montgomery's been hurt, but like there have been some. And that happens, I'm not trying to pick on any individual guy, but there have been some misses is the point. So I think the talent evaluation question is a thing. Okay. Atheos Yolo says we need turnovers as well. So I'm a big believer that forcing a turnover is largely luck. Do you disagree with that?
It's luck. I think it's luck. It's more so luck on fumbles, although there's a certain technique and stuff that fumbles, because fumbles are, I feel like, more rare. But if interceptions come from being able to more so re-diagnose the play, maybe scheme up for tendencies and stuff like that. I feel like that's a little bit more, you can kind of coach for that. But they still have to catch the ball, which they are not great at doing.
Yeah, and fumbles, like sometimes, hey, look, like if you're coming around the edge and you strip sack the quarterback, that's not as lucky, but still the ball has to come out and it has to bounce the right way, So I just think, I mean, I looked it up this morning. Missouri forced 18 turnovers last year. It wasn't like a huge number, but it put them exactly. They were 69th in the country. They were exactly middle of the pack. So they're gonna get some. I mean. I'm not super concerned that they don't have any takeaways through 2 games.
No, especially considering how the defense is playing. Like, it's more because I forgot what was necessarily asked about the defense, but he was just saying defense play well, but we need turnovers. And I think he was more so saying that for like the future, obviously. Like it's cool now. We're destroying pretty much defensively without them. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but we're going to need them, and they're definitely going to need it because the offense, like I feel like the turnovers are going to reset those quick 3 and outs they have, because sometimes it feels like they have the ball for like 40 seconds of game time and they're already punting it back. They need the turnovers to reset that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. We were talking about on Saturday night is that safety a turnover, and I said, well, yeah, it has to be. Fumble the ball, went out. It's not a turnover apparently.
Yeah, I read your comment this morning. I was like, oh, okay. New news. It should be.
They had the ball, and then he fumbled it,
and
they didn't have the ball anymore. Why is that not a turnover?
Exactly. He gave the other team points, and they had to kick it. Exactly. I don't know. Some rules are dumb.
Right. It's kind of like, yeah. I mean, maybe a blocked punt. I guess I get why a blocked punt isn't a turnover because, like, you're giving the ball up anyway.
Yeah,
but that you had the ball and then you didn't have the ball. That is the definition of a turnover.
I don't. It's kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking like, is it worse than just an interception or fumble? Because you're giving them not as many points, but you're still giving them points and the ball.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. It's a dumb rule. Somebody should change that. I like this. Finish Strong says, "Is it okay to be pessimistic?" And then immediately says 17-10 Mizzou.
I don't know if
I mean,
yeah,
it's okay to be pessimistic. Like I understand why you would be pessimistic. All right, Mark Fenton asking why Baker is going with 3-man fronts. Have we seen a lot of that? I'll be honest, I'm not sure.
I don't feel like I remember too many.
I don't feel like I've seen a lot.
I've seen a couple of plays where they have defensive linemen in a 4-man front and they have somebody drop in coverage. I've seen Johnny Walker drop in coverage and cover clouds, do a cloud flat type of thing, but I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah. Finish Strong wants to know why wasn't Nathaniel Pete used in the run game in the second half. So let me ask you a question. Did you realize that during the game? Because I really didn't.
I didn't realize that during the game. I was thinking of all the other stuff that was going wrong and while they're melting. But it wasn't until after the game when we was leaving and he was just like, you think all of Pete's carries or most of his carries came in the first half? Like he had one drive where he had like five carries in a row. Like some things I don't get. And it seemed like Drink, he said it too after the postgame. He was just like, yeah, Nate Pete had a great game, 100 scrimmage yards. He's got to be featured more. I don't know why they didn't do it.
Yeah, Jarod, I don't know if you have a TV where you're at or are monitoring the Monday Night Football game at all. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is about to get in a cart, go off the field.
First off, I got him on my fantasy team, so
that's why I asked.
The first inclination is no. I'm sick. So,
there you go.
But honestly, that's unfortunate. I was really excited to see what the Jets were going to do this year, and that's crazy.
Yeah. One silver lining is the rest of the SEC looked pretty bad. Look like the SEC, I think, is 3-6 in non-conference games against Power 5 teams. Really? Like the SEC hasn't looked very good so far.
No, I was obviously. I mean, I'm already thinking Texas is in the SEC, but right. I was watching the highlights earlier, and this Bama team, something different about them.
Yeah,
they're just. Yeah. I don't know. I get what this Booth and Tobacco is trying to say.
Is there anybody in this league good enough to win a national title besides Georgia?
I don't know if I'm feeling that one.
I don't think there's because like LSU's got to run the table. I don't know that they can do that. Bama's pretty much got to run the table, and they look like you said, they look like they're missing something.
Well, so I'll say this: they can, but the percentage point isn't as likely as like every year. It's always Georgia, Alabama, or something like that. I think
there's always two.
Yeah, but I feel like it's definitely one. And if you're telling me Alabama gets down there at the end, as long as it's not Georgia, probably yes, because I think like this, they had 2 touchdowns taken away by penalties in that game versus Texas. Like they could still win that game and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Alabama or LSU could, but the bottom line, the SEC is weaker than it's been in a while, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No question. So let's see, just kind of catching up on comments. Worst case scenario, 2-4. How hot is the seat for drink? I mean, all right. So, Jarod, we didn't really go through this last year, so I want to welcome you to what covering college sports is in 2023. You get to a year where it's like every week is just who we firing, how soon are we firing him. We can avoid it if they win this week. If they lose this week, we cannot avoid it. If they lose 4 in a row, If they lose to Kansas State, Memphis, and Vanderbilt, I don't see any scenario in which he wins enough to keep his job if that's the case.
Yeah, nah.
Because then you're talking 2-4, and the second half of the schedule is harder. The second half of the schedule is Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. You ain't finding 5 wins in there.
Yeah, you win. If you go 2-4, I only can see one game. There's only one game that's that I feel pretty confident they could still win, and that'd be Florida. And even then, if you're at 2-4, I would start thinking like, you're closer to how we think about Florida than you think, and you may lose that one. So,
yeah, and it's, I mean, look, I still think they're beating Memphis. I still think they're beating Vanderbilt. I don't really think this is a scenario that you're getting in. I just feel like I'd put it out there. All right, so Javon Baxley wants to know, does Drink know how big this game is for him? If they lose this one, might as well let him go now. I disagree with the second sentence, but this is large. I mean, and I think people know it. Like Brady Cook seemed to know how big this game was when we talked to him after the game on Saturday.
It's I don't know how much more to quantify how big it is. Everybody knows it. It doesn't, I mean, they need momentum. Like that's what I feel like they're kind of like. They need something to get ready for. Because in my head, I know Vanderbilt is an SEC school. I get that. But because we just think they're going to run over, I feel like they're like, we need to get this momentum going for, let me check what week 6 is. Oh, LSU. LSU. So, we need that momentum, everything we can get to go into that game. And you lose here and you stumble here after kind of iffy first 2 games. Memphis isn't an easy game. That's technically a neutral site. That's still going to be a home game, but you know what I'm saying? Then you face Vandy on the road. You still got to play. You still got to go on the road. So they definitely got to win it. They need momentum bad.
Yeah, they need momentum. They need to keep people engaged.
Right.
No question. It's a big game, but like as far as, hey, might as well fire him now if he doesn't win this game, I think that's going way too far. I absolutely don't agree with that part. Would it buy him another year if he was starting Sam Horn and prepping for the future? And like, I'm only putting this up there because I've brought this up. People say that he's playing Brady Cook and it's the safe thing. No, the safe thing for his job security is to start Sam Horn, to have the excuse at the end of the year. Hey, I know we were 5-7 or 6-6, but like, see, this is the guy, man. I'm like, you got to give me a chance. This was his first year as a starter. So the safe thing, as far as job security, would be to play Sam Horn.
I actually disagree with you. I had this question on, somebody asked on Twitter, and I addressed it in the column that's coming out tomorrow. I just wanted to wait because I didn't want to deal with character count. But someone asked me, like, if they win 4 or 5 games, but he starts playing Horn, first off, Missouri fans would like that. And my response to that is, sure, he plays Horn, but he's staring down the barrel of another 4th straight 500-ish season. And if they go only win 4 or 5 games, all this recruiting and stuff like that, and the Williams-Nwaneri and the recruiting class he got, I don't know if he gets to see them play because they need to see results. You can't just go from, we need to see results to, okay, well, I'm just trying out the new guy here. Like, no, you've already won 2 games. That's where the 2-0 part comes, because you do have 2 wins. So for you to go out of nowhere and tank that'd be kind of crazy. And then also, how could you, like, people are asking, why didn't, Sam Horn play in the last game? How could you name a starter days before the game? The game is closer than you expect. And then all of a sudden, the guy you just said was not good enough to be the starter needs to get minutes in that game, or needs to play. That doesn't add up for him, for a guy who job security, I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine is not as good as it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get to Alex's question, then we're going to finish with a bang, man. I saw a couple good ones. What needs to happen Saturday to be competitive against K-State? Open up the playbook, just what do you think they've got to do? Other than, look, we know the basics, like no turnovers, no penalties, don't play stupid. We know that part. But, like, schematically, player-wise, is there something that you think they can do?
I just think, honestly, every game this season is going to be the same. It's going to come down to the offense, and to the analogy I made, the run support, the defense. I think the defense is going to play well. It may give up a little bit more points because Kansas State, they've got a lot of quick position players, and their running back he's a pretty good player, but they're going to need some help. They can't hold teams to 10 points going into the fourth all the time, and then because there's going to be a possession where they're tired. You just gave them a quick 3 and out. Now they got to come in, or it's a short field. They're going to need help. So whatever that means, and the special teams is going to be huge, obviously, because of Mevis and his struggles, and because Kansas State has Phillip Brooks, who's for quite a while has been one of the better returners. I feel like he had a punt return for a touchdown. I feel like it was him who had the punt return for a touchdown last year. So special teams is also going to be big time.
Special teams is huge. I think it's real simple. They need some big plays on offense. And that does not mean it has to be thrown 55 yards in the air. It can be as simple as what happened on Saturday, 8-yard pass to Nate Pete that turns into a 49-yard touchdown. But they need some plays that gain 30 and 40 yards from scrimmage. They're not going to beat Kansas State doing this thing six yards at a time. The other thing, I think they got to score somehow that's not offense. If that's defense, if that's special teams, whatever, I think they need points in a non-traditional way.
Well, that's an awful bold prediction.
I didn't say they'll get them. I said I think they need them to win. There's a difference.
Fair.
All right. Yeah, so we're going to finish up with these two. And guys, appreciate all the questions. And I'm sure there's some we're missing. But, we could go on forever and ever. So Tobacco says, it seems like Drink has been a little shorter with the media lately. Do you think he senses people turning on him? I think he probably senses the pressure. I don't think he's been I thought he was really good after the game on Saturday.
I think it was one of his better performances. We was talking about this leaving the stadium. Like, for everything he didn't do on the field, I mean, opening up, he could have really went into coach speak for pretty much anything that wasn't related to the defense. He could have just, we're 2-0. He played well enough to win the game, all that good stuff. And he was really transparent. Like, when I asked him the offensive line question, it wasn't something I was thinking of. I just thought it. And when I asked it, when it first came off my lips, I was just thinking like, I may not
going to get anything here.
Yeah, I may not get nothing I want. And he was just like, oh no, we're not going to sit around and do this throw out the same lineman giving up 7 tackles for loss to MTSU. So I think he was better.
Okay, so this is what I want to finish with. And Mark Fenton, if you're still on here, I want to invite you. Why are you afraid to ask Drink tough questions? So I want you to respond in the comments and tell me the question that you want asked that you don't believe has been asked to Eli Drinkwitz. Because I asked him after the game on Wednesday night, do you think, or on Saturday night? I don't know why I suddenly thought they played on a Wednesday night, but I asked him if he thought they were close. He's been asked about playing Sam Horn regularly. Jarod asked him if he was going to make changes at offensive line. He was asked about the decision not to go for 4th and 1 multiple times. Like, I legitimately want to know what questions, if you're still on here, you want asked. And then I will explain to you either that they've already been asked or why we haven't asked them. Whichever one that is. And I'm not joking about this. I'm not trying to be a dick. Because generally, when it is said you won't ask tough questions, what people want us to do is stand up and yell and get angry and accuse him of things, right? Why don't you do this? You suck at this. Well, that's not it. Yes, there's a way you can ask a tough question without trying to get the coach to yell at you and be on SportsCenter. There's a way you can ask a tough question and actually maybe get an answer to it. So I'm happy to answer this. What questions that you're looking for? So, Jarod, any thoughts on why you won't ask tough questions? Are you afraid to get kicked out of the interview room?
Yeah, definitely not. I don't know if y'all have noticed. Nothing about this job or people who say whatever they want to say about me scares me or is going to intimidate me. If I have the question thought up, I'll ask it. But we talk to them all the time, and I mean, we can't force anything out of them. Like, for example, in the first week when he played Brady the first half and he played Sam, of course we asked, why didn't Sam play earlier? If he says, well, we had a plan in place to play one in the first half and one, I can only take him at his word. I can't.
He's answered the question.
Yeah, we're not going to force him to do anything more than that.
I find what people usually want is, well, I didn't like that answer, so give me a better one. Well, that's not productive. That does not.
It's not productive, and guys got to remember, we still got to have a working relationship. And for us to give y'all the stuff, we can give, it's probably not the greatest idea to do stuff like that. Like, we're going to ask the hard questions, but if they don't want to answer them or they don't give us the answer you want, what can we do from that point, I guess?
Right. And that again, that doesn't mean we won't ask questions that need to be asked.
For sure.
No questions. So here's a few that people want us to ask, and a couple of them are actually realistic. As the play calling, why has the play calling become so conservative? I mean, there's a way to phrase that. That's a legitimate question. Would he let Sam Horn date his daughter? Do you want to ask him that one this week? We get to talk to him tomorrow at noon. Do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
You can take that. Actually, no. There's other people in there who'll ask that question. Okay. I feel like there's some interviews sometimes where we talk to people, and you can tell there's a time clock, or they know, like, all right, we need to get you out of here. So I don't want to waste it on questions that.
Right. Have you heard anyone ask Drink if he's holding the reins too tightly on the new OC? So I've been asked a lot in the last 3 days, really, who's calling the plays. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it's Kirby Moore. Eli Drinkwitz hired him, and he said he was going to call the plays. So I'm assuming that Kirby Moore is calling the plays here. I mean, I guess we could ask that, but it seems I don't think it seems like it needs to be asked, does it?
Yeah,
maybe it does.
I get why the question, why U308 asked that, but I don't know what we're gonna get him to say. And at the end of the day, I feel like his answer would be, whether Kirby's calling the plays or Drink is calling the plays, it's getting funneled through him. So at the end of the day, whatever plays on the field, it's his decision to allow. Even if he don't say nothing on the microphone or whatever, on the headset, that's his call. So I don't know if it matters all that much.
And here's the other thing. Here's what every coach is going to say when you ask about play call. Like, I'm just telling you guys this. We got to execute. It's about execution. And, like, I know people get tired of that, but in the end, like, it's true. Like, they don't call plays that they don't think are going to work. Nobody says, all right, guys, call the 3-yard play or call the -6-yard play. Nobody does that. The idea is, if all of our guys do their job, this play is going to work. So the coach's answers are execution. I mean, I get tired of that answer as much as anybody does, but it's also true in a lot of cases. Mike wants Drink to fix the housing market. Tad wants us to ask if we can call a play. So
I came up with the Logan Riker, throw him in there. I mean, every time I see this pistol single back, they might as well. We know it's like the first play of every game, so you might as well throw him in there.
I do want it on the record that when they were in formation before they snapped the ball on the first play of the game, I did turn to Jarod and say, they're handing this ball off to Cody Schrader.
Oh.
You know what play I would call? I would call the touchdown play. Every time, that's what I would call. I would just say,
which is
just score a touchdown. That's the play call.
Okay.
Go run the touchdown play. We're good. So, all right. Well, Jarod, I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to get on the waiver wire, man. You ain't got a quarterback on your team.
I'm sick. Now it's a double flex league, so for those who know, like he's basically my second quarterback behind Patrick, of course. So it's not. I'm not down bad. I got to see what we got to do there.
All right, man. Well, appreciate your time. We'll let you go. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
All right.
All right, that is appreciate Jarod for joining us. Noon tomorrow, we're going to talk to Eli Drinkwitz. We get players afterwards, so we will have all of that court request that we call the annexation of Puerto Rico. So we will check into that tomorrow. Appreciate all you guys being around here and hanging out with us for an hour on a Monday night. We're going to do this pretty much every night. James Carlton, our guy, is taking care of us this year, and he's presenting this show for you guys every single week, making some of what we do possible. And so want to thank James. You can get in touch with him at carltoninsurance.net. You can call him at 314-961-4800. You can run all these. James Carlton would like to call a play. You call up James Carlton, ask him what play he would call for the Missouri offense. And I promise James will talk to you about Mizzou football. You tell him you're a Power Mizzou member. He's on our board a lot. He's on our site a lot. I talked to him on the radio today. So look, you need insurance. Why not go through a guy who likes the same things you guys do, supports the same businesses you guys do? So get in touch with James Carlton. And if you do that, you get a quote. He's going to give $20 to Mizzou's NIL Collective. So everybody that was here on the YouTube, before you all log off, please do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all those things that help us out on YouTube. We've been picking up a lot of viewers, a lot more eyeballs, and appreciate that. So everything you guys can do to kind of spread the word helps us out. We'll be back Thursday on the YouTube channel with a K-State preview, but plenty of stuff between now and then. So stay tuned. We'll talk to you.